ESG is a big umbrella. It incorporates a lot of topics, and our boards are actively engaged in all of these topics. Now, in this past year, we saw a real shift in our boards leaning in, and we saw it in our corporate directors survey. We saw that 64% of the directors told us that ESG is now linked to company strategy, a 15-point increase from last year. So ESG is at the top of the game. Can you help us understand specifically how technology can really help with these ESG efforts?
We can't expect board members to become technologists, but they need to be aware of technologies, both incumbent and emerging, that have the potential to solve some of the ESG goals, and to truly understand the use case and why are these technologies relevant, and be able to ask the appropriate questions of their management teams so that they can, pressure test those proposals. In terms of prioritization across all industries, most boards need to be cognizant about a few emerging areas where technology plays a significant role in achieving those ESG goals. One is managing your carbon footprint and waste. Secondly, managing the workforce complexities. And finally, data security and privacy.
So when you think about the opportunity here to use technology in the area of reducing carbon footprint, give us some examples of what that means to you.
Well, I'm actually not surprised that there's heightened concern around climate action. The lines are blurring between climate action and high performance and risk management. Supply chain is an area where organizations should place more focus to reduce their carbon footprint and at the same time maximize their growth and minimize their risks. Blockchain technology is an emerging area where we are seeing major enablement around trust and transparency. Giving you real-time access to where and when materials were sourced, manufactured, transported, stored, sold. And this is, unprecedented information that we have.
Directors are now very focused on talent management, as you know, whereas in the past they were really focused on kind of the CEO, C-suite level. Now, because of the talent shortages, everything that we're reading about, the significant change around how our talent works at all levels of the organization, directors care. So what technology do you see that management is using that is helpful and that boards should be aware of?
Well, what's interesting is talent management is now a whole new beast because today talent management is trying to solve the workforce paradox. This is a completely new phenomenon that we have never had in the history of employment, which by that term, workforce paradox, I'm referring to the simultaneous state of millions of people being unemployed and millions of job openings without viable candidates. And there are three primary factors fueling this paradox. One is the widening skill gap. Secondly is lack of diversity in the workforce. And third, mental well-being and the great resignation that we're all hearing about. There are technologies that can address each of these. Companies are using AI in different ways to accelerate closing the skill gap. To increase diversity, companies are looking to automating their application review process to reduce sort of human bias in the hiring process. And around mental well-being and the great resignation, we all know that is impacting business continuity. So companies are turning to consumer digital health apps and using them at the enterprise level to help manage the well-being of their employee and their workforce.
I want to go into the topic that we often discuss with directors, and that is data privacy and security. So when you think about that, data privacy and security, what comes to mind in this area?
Board members should, from a governance perspective, should really focus on a couple different areas where technology is playing a very significant role. organizational control systems, and data management processes. A lot of companies, for their organizational control systems, are moving to the zero trust model. And don't get fooled by the name. Zero trust is actually a security model where you're not securing the entire network, but you're using identity management controls, strict identity management controls over apps and data. What's difficult is this new world of data management post cookie. So, as you know, more and more regulatory restrictions like GDPR and CCPA are placed on organizations to restrict their access to tracking user data. And consumers are now very skittish about sharing their personal information. So the question becomes, how can organizations maximize the value of the data that they are permitted to have in the most responsible way? So it's important in oversight and governance for board members to recognize what technologies are available, what's emerging, and truly understand the use case so that they can understand the relevance and be able to ask their management teams the questions to pressure test those proposals. This gives them the advantage to be able to prioritize the tech investments based on short, medium, and long-term plans.